mahanga South Africa siyaphathana Kumintu Chenangana Sikuni sikha Sokushaya makhona Kumintu Chenangana Sikuni sikha Sokushaya makhona Ekyo Phakafonda mahanga South Africa siyaphathana Ekyo Phakafonda mahanga South Africa siyaphathana Kumintu Chenangana Sikuni sikha Sokushaya makhona Kumintu Chenangana Sikuni sikha Sokushaya makhona Manja. Comrades, thank you very much, Comrade Nopala. It's very emotional. Yes. This is a very emotional battle when you speak from the heart. And we are also speaking to those other hearts, those uncircumcised hearts. We are speaking to those. Comrades, as we accept that the assembly continues and this is it. And I am happy that parents are here and those who are always on Twitter and media will see that this is the 23% that Adam speaks about. This is the 23% that doesn't want to go to class. We are waiting to see the 77%. Comrades, all of us here, we want to go back to class. Now, but we can only go back to class once our demands are met. It's not true that there is a certain few individuals that just doesn't want school. That's not true. We are all here to acquire academic excellence. At home, they are waiting for us to come back with the degree so that they can eat mayonnaise for the first time. Comrades, as the black masses, we need the education more than anyone else. When we get the degree at home, they will eat tomato sauce or for the first time. That's the reality. Now, nobody then can come here and tell us that we don't want education because nobody knows where we come from. Some of us here, your parents are selling mukhodu. Some of you, your parents are selling scopo. Some of you, your parents are farm workers and farm dwellers. They rely on the degree so that you can provide a better life for your parents. Now, the reality of the matter then, NSFAS doesn't allow that. It doesn't allow that once you graduate, you can take your parents out of abject poverty. NSFAS itself is a scheme that was meant to subject black graduates to abject poverty until they die. Comrades, you pay NSFAS, you don't finish. It's a loan, it has interest, it accumulates. When you chase, it opens. When you chase, it opens. The other group, our colleagues, those who are from privileged backgrounds, those who have no academic debts, when they graduate here, they don't owe anything. They already have a flat, fully furnished flat. They already have a car and 1 million in the bank. Yourself as a black graduate, when you leave resident, you don't even have a bed. You don't have a fridge. You don't even have a spoon because the spoon is for royal land. Now, comrades, it is also true that black graduates don't earn the same salary as white graduates. Even if you have the same qualifications, you are doing the same job, but you don't earn the same salary. That's what we talk about, free decolonized education. We include that as well. We are leveling the ground. We are saying we also don't want to have graduate debt. We want to live here with no debt, go to workplace and be able to provide at home and take out our people out of abject poverty. That's what we are crying for here. I'm going to ask Professor to speak on behalf of the academics, Professor, because we have the academics here. Yeah. So now, Habib Adam must then tell us how the year will be wasted, because academics are here. Yeah. Thank you very much. Professor.
Amandla. Comrades, students and parents, workers, this morning we got a notice to say that the assembly has been postponed. But as I stand here, I see an assembly. You will know that academics nationally called for a day of action today. And the academics at Wits planned their day of action, their picket, at 9 o'clock, believing that there would be an assembly. We were going to march here and join the assembly. Because the assembly was postponed, or at least the formal assembly was postponed, academics decided to meet in Solomon House after our picket. We had a discussion there about the consequences of the postponement of the assembly. We then received a message from your leadership requesting us to come here. That meeting mandated me to speak and report to you what was discussed at that meeting. I should also say to you that the meeting decided to all convene at this assembly. So all the academics who were there are now here. I don't want to speak too long because, as the chair has said, what is most important today is that we hear an interaction, that we hear the voices of the hundreds of people who are here. We can't have a situation where we speak for hours and you simply sit there passively listening to us. So we want interaction. So I'm going to be very quick. I want to say that we decided to have a national day of action because academics across the country believe, like you do, that the education system is in a crisis. We also believe and acknowledge that the students have played the leading role in highlighting the crisis. Students have played the leading role in putting on the agenda the need for an urgent solution to the crisis. Students at Wits University and elsewhere have also come up with proposals about how to solve the crisis. So this narrative in the media that students are only interested in burning down buildings is a false narrative. What I have seen over many, many years, I never see in the media of students sitting down, debating issues, disagreeing amongst one another, and people worry. They say, why are students disagreeing? This worries me. We are at a university where students are supposed to disagree. We are at a university because people are here can think for themselves. Now, academics have said and acknowledged the leading role that students have played. And we decided over many, many months that it's time for academics nationally to make their collective voices heard. And we have focused on a couple of key issues. One, at our university and elsewhere, because of the decrease in state subsidy to universities, we are having to make decisions about what to cut at universities. We don't want to do that. We have, over the last 20 years, have seen a transformation in the kind of student who comes to university, and you can see this year. Wits now has more than 50% of its students being black students. We still have a long way to go for Wits to be truly representative of the country, but we're getting there. However, even as we have massified, the state has not matched that massification with appropriate funding. In my view, that is a consequence of the decision in 1996 to adopt GEAR. It's a neoliberal logic, at the heart of which is the commodification of education. So, when academics say we need to increase the state subsidy, we are sending a very clear message that we as academics support education as a public good. That education is not a privilege. On radio you hear education is a privilege. It's not. Education is a right. Academics are standing up and saying we must protect education, higher education and basic education as a public good. So that is why we picketed, and I should report to you that as we are speaking here, there are pickets taking place across the country. Our neighbors at UJ are picketing at the moment. And so on. Now, at the meeting that we left to come and join you, we had a debate about what we should be doing. And there were 2 or 3 clear messages that came from that meeting. The first is that as academics, we witnessed what happened on Tuesday. We're taking a very clear stand as academics that we will not teach in conditions of securitization at university. Universities are places of teaching, of learning, of research, where engagement. The university community, students are at the heart of that. Academics, workers who are part of our community, and administrators, we must defend the space. We must defend the space as a public good. When we allow bouncers to come onto the university, when we allow the police to come onto the university, we are handing over our public good, our public space to security, and we won't stand for that. So those academics who met earlier will be sending a message to management to make this position absolutely. For us, it's a principal position. The second issue that we discussed was that we are deeply concerned about the decision to postpone this assembly. We feel that the efforts by the former presidents of the Black Student Society, which I think was an important intervention to try and find a way out of the crisis, that the postponement of the assembly places that mediation process in jeopardy. We are calling for continuation of that process. We are calling for dialogue. We were hoping, as I hope will happen here, that this assembly could be used for the different constituencies at the university to listen to one another. But there is an urgency, there is a crisis. We also express the view that it is not appropriate to put specific deadlines on this process. Because when you say a particular kind of assembly must happen on Friday, when you say that the university must open on Monday, then you are creating obstacles in the way of having a dialogue and engaging in a process of negotiation. From what I have heard, students are saying that they want the university to open. They want the academic year to be completed. Yes. Academics support that view. But it can't just be open, or what we can't have is to have it open in the way that was attempted on Tuesday. We can't have that. So, to conclude, the academics are going to express their views to management. We will report to them what I've reported now. We're going to make every effort over the next few days, and however long it takes, to support the campaign. And you will have seen our banners and posters this morning that academics are very clear, and this was, by the way, in the statement that was going to be presented to the Assembly, that we support the idea of free education for all. That is what unites us, and we have to make every effort to get together to ensure, in my view, that what we achieve is a decolonized public African university. Amanda.
That was Prof. Nork. Yes. Comrades, we are now joined by the Bishop. Now, it then says that probably we have to reverse a bit and allow the spirit from above to fall upon us. Because the bishop is bringing the spirit from above to fall on us so that God can give us wisdom. Because we need wisdom. Because even us as leaders, we need strength and courage and wisdom. Now we are going to ask the bishop to come and confer the powers from above to all of us. Modimo alite matata matata modimo alite matata 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 The song has said everything. The song has summed up everything. We will fight till the bitter end. There is no fear. There is no police brutality. There is nothing that is going to stop us. The train is moving. Thank you very much, Bishop.
Amanda! What are we saying about the fees? Fees must? When? What are we saying about education? Decolonize education. Let me begin by saying that I'm coming from the team that has been trying to mediate. We met since this morning about 9 o'clock when we received the news that the assembly has been postponed. The VC has made a pronouncement to postpone but then we had the real VC saying the assembly is going on. So the team has sent us here to say to you, especially parents, that we are here to support the struggle of the students. That we believe that the issue of feasibility of fees that are free is no longer on the agenda. That is possible. This country is blessed with many resources that can be used. We are saying that we support free and quality education that is decolonized. Since Tuesday, we were here, Dalimpofu and Diehom Seneke were leading the team. We don't believe what has been said that the negotiations have failed. We have been successful in that. On Tuesday, we stopped what could have been the second Marikana. We're able to also to say to the university is not a military base. That university is a place of learning and teaching and research, and it must do its job. That they cannot be learning when the soldiers are all over the place with guns. That the professors can't really teach in a situation that is militarized. We have been able, working with the leadership of this student body, to organize and get the agreement of all stakeholders that the assembly should sit today. We were working till with the students 2 a.m. this morning. And we left university at 3 a.m., all understanding that the assembly will happen today. And so it is not surprising that the assembly is actually here and sitting. We have listened carefully to what the students are asking for, and this afternoon, when this assembly disperses, we are going to meet with them to pave a way forward to make sure that what the students are asking for actually does happen here at the university. So we want to say to parents what they have said to us this morning. Hear them, they are crying loud. I don't know whether they have actually told you what is going on in this university. I heard for the first time that students actually sleep on the floor. That students sleep in the libraries. That students sleep in the toilets and still attend classes in the morning with empty stomachs. So the crisis is much bigger than what we think it is. And we as parents and civil society and the church must stand alongside our children. And so this afternoon there will be a meeting between the students and the mediating team, and then a statement will be issued as to the way forward. As of now, we are encouraging each and every one of you to make sure that what has happened since Tuesday, that the police are outside the premises of the university and that violence has ceased. Now, think about it. When the police were here, there was what? Violence, destruction. When they left the campus, not one student And so this thing of saying students are distracted, it's not true. The students have told us that in actual fact they want this year completed. They want to write their exams, they want to finish their courses, and therefore to say that the students don't want the university to be open, it's a lie. They are committed. That is why this assembly is sitting here this morning. And so let us move forward with courage. The Bible tells us that when the Israelites were under the oppression of Pharaoh and exploited by the Egyptians, when they cried, as we are crying, God heard them. God elected Moses to say, go and set my people free. And Moses did and say, Pharaoh, let my people go that they may worship you. Now, education is not a privilege, it's a right. Every child is entitled to education that is a quality education, and we're saying it has to be free. Our Lord Jesus Christ himself, we saw him sitting in the temple with elders and seeking knowledge, asking questions. So let us allow our children to ask questions and let the professors do what they do and teach them. So without wasting time, we need to say to you, other church leaders are in Pretoria, engaging with the communities and seeking to facilitate the same process as we are working on here. I will therefore now introduce to you the president of the Council of Churches. I was a president myself, and he is my successor. Bishop Siwa is the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church here based in Johannesburg, but is in charge of the church nationally. And I will then ask him to come forward and commit us to the Lord, and ask all the clergy here raise their hand upon you and call upon the Spirit to come on you and bless and give us courage. God says, fear not wherever you are, because I'm with you at all ways, all the time. Amanda, free education. Free education. Decolonized education. Marco Benjalo.
I'm asking you to sit down, because we must agree what I'll be praying for. You were here almost the whole day, so I cannot just walk in and pray as if I know what is in your hearts.
Amen.
On behalf of the churches, we have been meeting all along, and we've asked the church leaders throughout the country, in all the provinces, to be in each and every university, to listen, to protect, to come in and walk alongside the students. So what we are saying, number one, is that we salute you. We salute the students for putting onto the table of the nation what the nation should have resolved long ago. Do know that the South African Council of Churches is fully behind you. We engage with the parents, as Bishop Joe has said, and I want to say this: no one in his or her right mind will disagree with what you are asking for. I say in his or her right mind. As the Council of Churches, we say the security, the police, and everybody. Listen here. Listen here. Listen here. They are not the decision makers. So the leaders of the nation must stop sending people who are not decision makers. Actually, the police and the other people in the security sector have got their children here. So you cannot turn parents against their own children and their brothers and sisters. So they must refuse to be sent here. The people who are able to decide must come and sit down and negotiate. This is not war. Education, we cannot fail as a nation to invest in the future of this nation. Because it's not only investing in your future, You're investing in the future of the Gogos whom we are going to be looking after. So when we fund education, we invest in the future of the nation. So the those who are in leadership, in government, in higher education, in business, the students themselves must sit down and say, a fee-free education is possible. The only thing that they must sit to discuss is to how are we going to make it happen sooner than later. That's all. That's what should be on the agenda. Education is not a commodity to be sold. I saw song. We cannot continue to generate slaves. We want the children of the continent of Africa to be the producers of knowledge. And not only consumers of knowledge generated elsewhere. In order for that to happen, education must be available, accessible to everybody. The state, the business, actually the business are the beneficiaries of what you're going to do. The state, the business, and everybody else must find the money to fund education. It is not your war, but you started it. Don't lose focus. Keep your eye on the ball, that we do not lose what you have forced this nation to talk about. I end by saying those who are in leadership must sit down and talk and say how are they going to do it. It makes me angry, Bishop Joe and the comrades, when you are going to make the parents and the children to be at war. It makes me angry when the country is banning, the leadership of the nation is nowhere to be seen. I am going to ask you, I know that we come from different faiths and religions. But when people agree, there's one God, whatever name you're going to use to call God, it's okay. But when people agree, what is it that they are going to ask for? God hears. And if God wants it to happen, it will happen. We just warn those who are in leadership, whether in the church, whether in business, whether in government, whether everywhere else, though we warn them that they must be careful, they must not fall before the fears fall. Because if they refuse, they will fall. Things will follow them. I'm going to use just 2 minutes now to ask God to intervene. And you never tell God how He's going to intervene. You must be careful when God intervenes. So in your faith, those who are faith leaders here and those who believe in whatever religion, just stretch out your hand as we ask God to intervene now. God of life, God of justice, God of peace, God of dignity, Intervene now. God of all creation, Almighty, we know you are able. Now is the time. Hear the cry that rises up from the assembled gathered here at Wits. The cry that comes from every corner of this nation, in all the centers of higher learning, the cry that comes from parents, the cry that comes from all of us, the cry that comes from the church and the faith communities. And now, I say what we all say to you. Those here and those who are not here, we're asking you to intervene now. Do it. Do it. For we believe you can do it. In the name of God. Amen.
Thank you very much. Jesu murenanda tu modia wege murena. Jesu murenanda tu modia wege murena. I want us to sing the national anthem, the original one, the decolonized national anthem. I will give Koketo to lead. Wanda, hey, Joe, I'll go see, Africa, We continue to provide leadership where it is lacking. We have started with the process of decolonization. The national anthem has been decolonized. Where is the decolonized national anthem? At some point, it must be the official national anthem of the Republic. The assembly continues. The former Vice Chancellor, Habib Adam, called off the assembly. The former Vice Chancellor, he didn't know that he didn't have those powers. With the powers vested on me, I commissioned the continuation of the assembly. The people at home who were deceived through a press briefing, they must know that the assembly is in progress and we are doing very well. I am going to ask Professor Itika Nduli, former Vice Chancellor of UKZN, poem.
The generation of the youth of the 1930s, led by Alfred Nzula, went to the Soviet Union to fight for a black republic, setting an international agenda. The generation of the 1940s, led by Anton Zwakhe Mbete, that formed the ANC Youth League, put the issue of African culture and economics on the agenda. The generation of the 1950s, led by Madiba, defied the unjust laws. The generation of the 1960s, led by Sobukwe, when you say that about Sobukwe, I can't resist saying I am Azania, truth made redundant by a pirate. I do not bend and I do not break. The generation of the 70s, led by TAT, put the issue of language into the agenda. The generation of the 80s invented the toy and rendered the government ungovernable. The generation of the 90s got into the corporate sector to open ways. The generation here now has taken it further by saying fees must fall. Imagine the households that are supported by old women. One thing, that money is no longer going to go to vets. It is going to improve this thing. It is a social revolution. Let me say this once more. One of the leaders, you all know them because your education is not titularized yet. Yeah. How many of you here have ever heard of a man called I.V. Tabata? You see, I.V. Tabata is one of the leaders. I.V. Tabata said, on earth, the molten lava in the center of the earth expands. It wants an escape. When it escapes onto the surface of the earth, you've got a volcanic eruption. In society, discontent like this one, simmering under the surface of the earth, when it erupts into the face, you have got a social revolution. It's a natural phenomenon. Let me say then that I'm so happy that the professors were here, because I thought somebody asked me in an interview, what do you think of South African academics? My answer was, when you speak of academics, I reach for my microscope, but I must correct it. Here are the people. Let me then remind you where we come from. I'm glad that the people of the cloth here, the people of God were here. They will actually forgive me. When we were angry, like you were angry at our own time, we decided, bishops, to break diplomatic relations with God, but decided that we must nonetheless pray. Maybe we have to think of new prayers. Can we pray? P.W. Porter is my shepherd, I am in want. He maketh me to lie down in street corners. He disturbs my soul for apartheid's sake. Yet though I walk through the very shadows of inflation, I anticipate no recovery. For he is against me. He prepared a reduction in my salary. He increases my VAT. My expenses runneth over. Surely unemployment and uprising shall follow him all the days of his administration. I shall carry my AK-47 forever and ever. Finally, I want you to listen to this finally. Where we come from. First, they said, we were natives. Then they realized that the native under the Department of Native Affairs. When they learned that native meant we owned the land, they changed. They called us Bantu under the Department of Bantu Affairs. When they realized that Bantu meant we were the people, they changed. They called us plurals under the Department of Plural Affairs, and our revolution became singular. They called us cooperatives under the Department of Cooperative Affairs. Like today, across stakeholders, we have cooperated. How could we then be defeated? Then we must remember those ancestors who came before, who fought for this land. One of them is Ushaga Erapura Nomakeba, who 200 years ago, Then very carefully. I would ask you all to stand up in honor of the big generals who have organized us, the students who have led us. Can you stand up and pay honor to them? All I'm going to say to you, like almost like Hitler, say, Salute!
Thank you very much, comrade. You can be seated. Thank you very much. The assembly continues. The assembly continues. Comrades, Wits University is a university in Africa. We don't know whether it's an African university, but it is a university in Africa, which then means in our struggle, in our articulations, we can't afford not to speak to the challenges of international students. They are part and parcel of this revolution. From Cape to Cairo, from Morocco to Madagascar, from Cape to Cairo, from Morocco to Madagascar. If you have noticed, the songs that we sing here, they speak to our cause. Songs liberated South Africa. Songs liberated South Africa. Comrades, we can't speak of free decolonized education and leave out international students. There is no one who's a foreigner here, but the borders are. The borders are the foreigners which divided Africa. That university continues to segregate on international students. Can you tell me why someone from Maseru needs a study permit to study here? When we speak their language. Why is someone from Botswana needing a study permit to study here when the whole of Northwest is Botswana? When the whole of Free State is Basotho? When the whole of Mpumalanga is Swazi? When is this university going to lead society? When are we going to talk about SADC issues? Issues of the region? When is South Africa going to take its rightful position and lead Africa? That's the question that Wits University must answer. It claims to be #1 in Africa, but it is #1 in oppressing international students. International students in this university are expected to pay 100% upfront fee payment before they come here. Even if you have a study permit from Zimbabwe, that rejects it. They want momentum. They want their own medical aid. That's corruption. At some point when Wits University had leadership, when there was a genocide in Rwanda, the leadership which was here, Rwandans were studying for free at Wits. There was still leadership at this university. That was the contribution of the university in Africa. It says, children of Rwandans, the doors of learning are opened at this institution. They were studying for free. Yes. Today, South Africans are not allowed to study for free. Charity begins at home. The reason why Habib Adam didn't come to this gathering is because he is trying so hard to protect a certain image of Wits University when it is smelling inside. It is smelling inside, but he wants to go out in public and behave like Goliath and Tao. That's why he's not here. We are going to raise these issues, and these issues are going to be addressed. To international students, we are with you, and we will kill this cancer, because this is a cancer. Those who do medicine, they know that you ban cancer, so we will ban this cancer. I am going to ask the representative of the workers, the insourcing group, those who are marginalized, our parents, those who ensure that our pets, our rooms are clean, our toilets are clean, because some of us, we have cleaners at home. When you come here, you can't even prepare your own bed, you can't even pick up your own clothes on the floor. These are the parents who ensure that our rooms are fine. Ours is to concentrate on academics. We eat in the dining hall they have cooked. You go to your room, it's clean. Yours is you and books alone. Don't have to be thinking, what am I going to eat? Do I have mayonnaise and onion? Thank you very much.
With SABC News, and we're bringing you live visuals from Wits University. Dramatic scenes this morning. The Wits, Adam Habib, the Vice Chancellor, saying that talks between students and management had basically failed. No consensus had been reached. Some of the students are saying something different, that there were just technical issues, and this was the groundwork for a planned General Assembly that was to take place at Wits that management said had been postponed. However, students have responded to that postponement, and they've in fact gathered under a huge marquee on the lawns, and they're saying that that General Assembly is going ahead. That's what you're seeing right now. They're holding their own meeting. They said earlier they would do that with or without the consent of management. Let's cross live to our reporter, Makeketla Mokhlabe at Wits University. Makeketla, what's happening on the ground?
A very good afternoon to you, Francis. Well, as you can see, those pictures, students are saying that we are on our own going ahead with the General Assembly. This is a General Assembly that was highly anticipated countrywide. Of course, we know that the management actually said earlier on that they are calling off this particular General Assembly due to some security concerns, and saying that they did fail to actually reach a consensus with the students. But we just tried to actually get one of the academics out of that particular event that's underway right now, Francis. We just want to hear that voice from them, and we understand that they are here to support the students. And I'm now joined by one of the lecturers in the School of Arts, Film and Television. Sir, thanks so much for your time. We understand that you are also actually pledging your support to the students here. What is your stand as a lecturer here?
Well, firstly, I want to say that I will speak for myself, and obviously can't speak for the whole student or for the whole student and lecturing body. But being as a person here, I'm actually excited with the energies that go around here on campus, and how the talks are starting to become more clear the talks at least between the academics and the students. I think it's it's a very important moment where we must start these conversations more with the student body. For the rest, we had this morning we had a picket here on the Great Hall steps with all the concerned academics, not all the concerned, but the academics that could be here as an advance to the General Assembly, which was planned. We had boards advocating our concerns and our beliefs, what we think is also important for the university. We completely understand that there is no lecturing without students, and students need lecturers in order to get their education. But without the other is not possible. And we also feel, and I also feel, that the line of funding for higher education is becoming a real problem, and people are feeling that, and it's jeopardizing their future.
Okay, let's talk about the 3 week of shutdown. As a lecturer, I mean, I'm sure it has been confusing, it has been concerning for you. How far are you with work ahead of exams?
Yes, I think it was a very confusing time because we didn't know where we were going to. So the first 2 weeks were general closure. People mainly stayed home because it was closed. The third week became a bit more unclear. I mean, we were trying to get open, and I was here actually to also be here for the students who were coming to school and trying to get their education. But soon after Tuesday we noticed that it was an impossibility and we couldn't be here on campus in a safe kind of manner.
In your view, the students' concerns, are they legitimate?
I'm fully behind the initial view of the students. You know, free education for people is very important. It's the only way to become economically viable in this world. You know, and so therefore, education is like water, electricity, internet, another big one. It's important because it gives people a future. So therefore, these demands are very legit, and in its first instance and in its basis, I'm definitely behind them. How they're going to be executed is obviously a second question. You know, obviously it has to be within a certain way that it's possible. But the demands now are, I think, legit because people have to make a fist. You know, if they don't, then they're not taken seriously. So therefore, I'm behind this first instance of protests and demonstrations. Hopefully, we can keep them all peacefully, and that's, for me, it's also a very important part of it.
So, going ahead, what do you expect to see happen? We understand that the council is going to have a meeting to decide whether the institution should be closed or open for the 2016 academic year. What do you expect to see happen?
Well, it's very difficult. I don't have a real expectation at this moment. It really depends on what agreements could be made, how government will come into the discussions, how open also the student body and how united the student body will appear for the in these discussions. You know, there's a lot of mediation is being going on, and the students hold their foot down and they say, no, we want free education now. That's their demand, and they don't want to be left in some kind of ambiguity where they are still promised something, basically like what happened last year, but it never really came to life. I'm sure the government has their trajectories in place, but they have to come forward and say, well, this is what we can promise you now. And as soon as that starts happening, I think the student body will also become much more collaborative with this whole situation.
How much of a load of work do you think is going to be there if this institution gets closed this year?
Yeah, it will be. I'm sure it will be disastrous in many cases. I mean, I'm teaching in the humanities section of this university, humanities faculty. For us, it's perhaps, and that's difficult to say, but perhaps it's not as stringent to be here in the coming 2 weeks as, for instance, for the health scientists and science. However, I do hope we can come to an agreement so we can continue the program as planned. And to be honest, personally, I wouldn't be against delaying or relaying the program into sort of early December, so moving exams a bit later. But that's, there's a lot of factors involved, and it's a difficult thing to just say, well, this should be the solution to this current problem, and to move exams backwards. It has a lot of implications.
Just finally, I know this is going to be very personal. 3 weeks of shutdown, and it may continue throughout this month. Are there any wage losses?
Any wage losses?
Yeah.
Not that I know of, but who knows?
Okay. Thanks so much for your time. Indeed, well, that's one of the academics here at Wits University showing their concern, of course, with regard to this particular, debacle going on the grounds of the university. But of course, we know that the event is still underway in the tent that was supposed to host this particular General Assembly. So let's take you there and see what is going on.
Of our worker leaders who are now sitting with no work at home. And recently what has happened at the Matrix, the people were fired for eating a bun. And we want a restatement of those workers as well. Yeah, it's happening, for eating a bun at work. So, it's terrible. So I'm going to leave it here, comrade. I hope the workers can also raise some of the other issues. Thank you, Amanda.
I will ask Hafela wa Mukhuku. He's a lecturer here. He wants to render a serious poem. Thank you. Amanda! Martha! Raikatuma Matumatumai! Raikatuma Resengatse! Raikatuma Matumatumai! Raikatuma Resengatse! Sale de Belaina de Tati Huduta Mokona de Colomena Masikwari! decolonization without a cultural revolution. This is a cultural revolution. Black pride. We are rejecting whiteness. We are emancipating ourselves from mental slavery. Black pride. Setswana Sibunolo. Thank you very much. We are going to ask Nehal to also speak to the issues of workers. Amandla. Away two. Tina mfundi Tina msebenzi Tina. Comrades, when we converged on Tuesday and we knew that death was waiting for us, we were aware that there were dogs waiting for us with rubber bullets, tear gas and stun grenades. And when the incoming VC said to me, we're gonna need human shield, I said, comrade, we might not have a very healthy past, but today I'm going to invite my fellow comrades. We're going to the front and we'll take the bullet on your behalf. Amanda! And it happened, comrade, as if they were joking. While we were marching slowly outside of the bridge, that white man, comrade, he hit the first stun grenade right here. And I thought he was kidding. I stood there. But he hit another three. And I started running. Manza! So, comrades, we have a pledge. Because the General Assembly was about to pledge. We are here on behalf of the workers. And we had hoped that today, following the longest mediation session, which ended this morning at 2 a.m. It ended at 2 p.m. It ended at 2 a.m. I think I got home at 2:45 this morning. And when students actually agreed, comrades, the students had agreed that this is going to happen. There was only one thing they requested, and I'll tell you why they requested this. The students said, at no stage ever since the protest started had management come to us to say, let's talk. And all the students requested was, we will have the assembly, we will have the march, but can we please be listened to? And we supported the students and said, let's have those three today, because the students want that interaction, because there are a lot of internal issues, comrades. Amanda, so obviously it fell on deaf ears. And you can see the levels of arrogance, they are very extreme. No one consulted with anyone. When they got the word that says the workers agreed with the students that there will be these three happening today, they issued an email in the morning. We were shocked. We were shocked because it looks like it's only about them and not about the students. So, here is the pledge, comrade. We now, on behalf of our members and workers at the university, address you not only as staff, but as parents and students ourselves. We solemnly pledge and commit ourselves today to the realization of free education now. We commit to holding ourselves and the university leadership accountable in making this a reality through concrete steps. Our goal is the same, a transformed, decolonized, free education now. We include in our commitment the elimination of outsourcing, and working towards a workplace where every person is afforded the dignity and the rights of our Constitution, irrespective of class, gender, or race. So, comrades, that is where our pledge ends. But comrades, now I like singing.
Bringing you scenes live from Wits University where the General Assembly that was planned has been postponed, but the marquee was set up. Students descended on it and are holding their own assembly of sorts right now, explaining why there was no consensus reached with management, why that full General Assembly did not go ahead. From the students' perspective, they say Wits dug in its heels and would not hear the concerns of students. From Wits management, we hear something different, that the students were quite intractable and would not, among other things, agree to the opening of the university on Monday. Now, students of the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University supporting the Fees Must Fall movement are protesting on the North Campus of the institution in Port Elizabeth. They're unhappy about the university's plans to resume its academic program on Monday without engaging them on the issue. The group of students are blocking the entry to the campus. A large police contingent is keeping a close watch. The students have vowed to prevent any reopening.
We are shocked. We received the news that NNMU is opening on Monday without any consultation with us. We are not even warned or brought forth to come and discuss the issue. So our stance is that we closed university for a reason, and therefore university must open for the same reasons that we are advocating for. The university has not responded positively to any of our internal demands, and still we are seeing that free education is still something that is not being adhered to. So in terms of that stance, we'll have to continue shutting down on Monday. We accept that it's within university autonomy to say that they want to open, but I think in terms of the student student resolute, indeed we will be mobilizing on Monday to close down the university.
The Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University NMMU management have called for an urgent meeting about its decision to possibly reopen on Monday. They are expected to release a statement later this afternoon. Moving to other news, South African and Namibian leaders say increased cross-border trade is a key catalyst for growth. This emerged at the second session of the South Africa-Namibia Binational Commission underway at the Presidential Guest House in Pretoria. President Jacob Zuma and his Namibian counterpart, Hage Geingob, are co-chairing the meeting. The objective is to coordinate and facilitate bilateral cooperation between the two countries.
Continue to appreciate the large presence of South African companies in Namibia, which are involved in various sectors such as housing, food and beverages, construction, retail, hotels and leisure, banking, medical services, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, we need to work with greater speed to enhance our cooperation consistent with the historical bonds that bind our countries and our people.
We are very happy on the progress that has been made in our bilateral relations. Moreover, the agreements, MOUs, that will be signed today by our respective ministers of international relations and cooperation be a testimony of progress made and presents new platforms for future cooperation.
Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu is celebrating his 85th birthday today. A service was held in St. George's Cathedral in Cape Town. Friends and family attended the event, revered and much loved. Another milestone in the life of the outspoken clergyman. Tutu started the day with an early morning prayer and communion at the cathedral. He said the journey to becoming the first black archbishop of the Anglican Church was a challenging one. He thanked the congregation for its ongoing support and prayers over the years. Tutu's special day will culminate with the Desmond Tutu International Peace Lecture by Pakistani lawyer Hina Jilani at the Artscape Theatre this evening.
A presumed U.S. drone strike in the south of the country has killed 3 Al-Qaeda suspects.
Death toll in Yemen's 18-month-old civil war now stands at about 10,000.
People get killed or die and are actually buried before they're recorded, and we don't have a way of recording that, but we know the numbers are much higher.
Water restrictions are to be imposed on villages in and around the Nkomazi municipality.
Pumps can't pump the water because there's no water in a river, and if the water is coming back, then it's full of mud.
Those who can pray and those who can do any miracle to make sure that we've got enough rain, give it a try.
ANC moved to ease tensions created by the heated public spat between National Treasury and Eskom.
Eskom denied allegations of impropriety regarding the matter. National Treasury issued a statement accusing Eskom of lying.
The fracas over hairstyles at a Pretoria school has drawn sharp focus on underlying racism and alleged abuse in some schools.
We want relevant answers from the MEC. You must fire the principal.
Here too, similar sentiments of underlying racism.
It just made me feel like I was not worthy enough of an education because of the type of hairstyle that I had. Because yesterday the statement was, writing an exam is a privilege.
To global news, the death toll in Haiti has risen as emergency teams reach the remotest parts of the southwest. Hurricane Matthew has ravaged Haiti, and it's now heading towards the U.S. state of Florida, where a state of emergency has been declared.
A flyover of Haiti by the U.S. Coast Guard shows the devastation left in Matthew's path. Death toll rose to at least 140 people killed by the storm, and officials say many more are still missing. The brunt of the storm hit southwestern Tiburon Peninsula, where most of the fatalities were reported. Haiti, the poorest country in the Americas, is considered highly vulnerable to natural disasters. Food and water is scarce, and hospitals are short on resources. Health officials fear there may be an upsurge in cholera from water contamination after Matthew. With the country's long-delayed presidential election postponed because of the hurricane, the road to building back may have only just begun. Not everyone in Juno Beach is heeding the official warning to move inland. Some residents say they're going to stay and batten down the hatches. After killing more than 100 people in Haiti, Hurricane Matthew is now heading for Florida's east coast. It will likely remain Category 4 when it makes landfall on Friday, and while some are staying, others are getting out.
It's too risky to stay, and just wanted to stay safe and really hope we have the grace to accept the aftermath. It's very, what else can you do?
Emergency officials are standing ready in Florida, Georgia, North and South Carolina for destruction officials say could be disastrous. Meteorologists say it's too soon to say where Matthew might do the most harm. Officials from the president down have repeated calls for residents to heed warnings to get out of harm's way before it's too late.
Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has offered amnesty to Aleppo fighters if they lay down their arms. But the rebels in Aleppo say they have no plans to evacuate.
Syrian pro-government forces are making advances on rebels north of Aleppo.
Yusuf, Hamas, Yusuf.
A UK-based monitoring group confirms some of those gains and says fierce battles are raging on other fronts near the besieged city. The gains come after 2 weeks of the heaviest bombings on rebel-held eastern Aleppo in nearly 6 years of war. The offensive has killed hundreds of people there and torpedoed a US-backed Syria peace initiative. In western Aleppo, where the government has maintained control, the contrasts couldn't be greater. Residents dance away their worries at this nightclub, the best escape, they say, from the dark realities of war on the other side of their city.
There is nothing else we can do. We have to make ourselves happy in these circumstances that we're living in.
Analysts say Aleppo will eventually fall, but even that, they say, won't likely end the Syrian war.
For Spile, giving up was no option even in times of need.
If it wasn't for the opportunity that was given to me by the taxi owner, late Mr. Sibego, maybe I wouldn't be where I am.
The taxi industry is also occupied by people with a vision.
There are quite a few taxi drivers with at least matric, and they had a next door neighbor who owned taxis, and they asked him for a job.
He now owns a law firm and he believes that challenges are meant to be conquered.
Once you step on top of them, you are able to be on another level and they remain under your feet.
He says hard work granted him his dream of becoming a lawyer of note.
I don't really believe in miracles. People work.
Join Puleng Mulibati every Friday at 17:30.
On Network, we tell you about Africa's social media and technology landscape.
21st century economies rely on technology to truly thrive.
We have quite a comprehensive portfolio of interventions in the tech entrepreneurship space.
And Africans are using tech and social media to solve the continent's unique challenges.
App Nigeria is an online marketplace.
Radio Vibe is a social media platform for radio music.
That's Network with me, Spumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time.
Welcome back. Economic data out this week has given a glimpse of the current economic conditions in South Africa. South Africa's Chamber of Commerce's latest business confidence index shows that business confidence slumped to a 30-year low. More encouraging is the Standard Bank's Purchasing Managers Index that picked up to its highest in 17 months. Compiled by Market, the PMI rose to 50.7 from below 50 in August.
This was the highest in 17 months. A reading of 50 and above indicates expansion, while a reading below means contraction. The index gauges operating conditions in the private sector. It climbed into positive territory in September, showing that companies have increased new orders and their job creation rates. But the index measuring business confidence was a tad disappointing. It showed that business confidence plunged to 30-year lows amid rand weakness, lower precious metal prices and a decline in share prices. Motor vehicle sales were also released this week. New vehicle sales declined in September. Only 47,399 new vehicles were sold in the past month, representing a decrease of 14.3% compared to the same period in 2015. Year to date, total industry sales have fallen 11.3%. Next week, Stats SA will release a labour market dynamics report together with the manufacturing and mining production sales figures. Diabo Seto, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Zimbabwe is losing at least $1 billion annually to corruption. That's according to the Transparency International report. The report also shows that police and local government officials are among the worst offenders. Public officials demand bribes for basic services like installing an electricity meter or approving a house plan to facilitate investment. Critics say corruption is one reason foreign companies are hesitant to invest in Zimbabwe. All right, let's move on. The British pound took a dive today, tanking by as much as 6% to reach a new 31-year low. This as traders scrambled to assess the cause of the heavy selling earlier. Many put it down to computer-initiated sell orders. The pound has been under pressure for most of this week on growing anxiety that Britain will undergo a hard exit or Brexit from the European Union. The currency fell to $1.18 in early Asian hours, hitting its lowest level since 1985. Well, the British Finance Minister, Philip Hammond, has vowed to protect the economy from any turbulence during negotiations to leave the EU. This as the pound falls on those worries that it could be heading towards a disruptive divorce with its biggest trading partner. Hammond made the promise to the ruling Conservative Party after Prime Minister Theresa May said she would trigger the process to leave the EU by the end of March next year. The announcement serves as a prelude to a timetable for one of the most complex negotiations in recent European history. Britons voted for Brexit on June the 23rd, and that took many investors by surprise, triggering the biggest ever one-day fall in sterling against the dollar. Although the economy appears to have weathered the initial shock, Hammond sought to reassure businesses and consumers that he would act if he needed to.
The fiscal policies that George Osborne set out were the right ones for that time. But when times change,